Alright, so today I will be talking about pyrokinesis or fire powers. This is a very good superpower to have in a fighter battle because you could just shoot a bunch of fire at someone until they were all burnt up and there was basically nothing they could do about it. One limitation of this power is whether or not the wielder of the fire powers is also immune to their own fire or high temperatures, because if they are not, there's just a high likelihood that you end up burning or injuring yourself with your own power. But if you are immune to your own fire, then it's a lot more helpful because you can do things that would be more dangerous, and you can more freely use your fire powers without having to worry about injuring yourself. Also, if for some reason you were fighting against someone else who also had fire powers and also immunity to fire, the fight would become kind of boring because now neither person can be hurt by fire, so it just becomes a regular fist fight, and then whoever is the strongest would win that, regardless of whether or not they had fire powers. Though in a fight against another person who also has immunity to fire, if you are smart, even though you can't hurt them with the fire, if you were in a tall building, you could maybe burn the ground underneath them so that they would fall through, or maybe the ceiling on top of them so that it would fall down onto them, but you couldn't directly hurt them with the fire. So, outside of a battle or a fight, fire powers have a whole lot of other uses, like you'd be able to instantly light your campfire, or smaller things like cigarettes if you smoke, and you would no longer need to pay for gas bills when cooking because you could just always maintain the fire of your stove using your powers. And if it gets too cold during the winter, you don't need to pay for heating bills or anything because you can just use your fire powers to heat a furnace or something. And maybe even if you want to go outside in the cold, you could use your fire powers to warm yourself, and you wouldn't have to need bulky or lots of layers of warm clothing since you could just warm yourself with your fire powers. So sometimes in TV shows or movies, people with fire powers are depicted using their fire as like little jets to propel themselves into the air like a spaceship, which isn't completely possible since in order to make that work, you would need to be expelling a lot of mass and matter out in order to propel yourself forward, which if you're just shooting out fire, you wouldn't be able to shoot yourself out into the air unless the fire was somehow supermassive. But let's say if for some reason you were able to fly using your fire superpowers, that would be really useful if you needed to get to school or to work because you'd be able to fly there really quickly, which would be super helpful. Alright, so make sure to like and subscribe to the video, and you'll see me in the next one.